All right, so welcome to the third video in our Chapter 1 lecture series. If you haven't watched the previous two, again, go back and watch those first and then start this one. So this next video is just going to be a really quick one about the states or phases of matter. So another way that we can classify matter is using the physical state that it's in. So all matter can be further classified by one of three physical states or phases, the solid, liquid, or gas. So when we look at solids, we say that a solid has a fixed shape and a fixed volume. Sorry, fixed shape and volume. So what do I mean by that? Well, when I look at this solid cube here of whatever I have, it's got a fixed shape, right? It's in the cube shape, right? When I drop that cube on the ground, what's going to happen to the shape? Nothing, right? It stays the same. It's got a fixed shape, fixed. It's not changing. All right, and it's also got a fixed volume. If I drop that cube on the ground, again, it's not gonna like spread out, right? It's just gonna stay in the same solid volume. If it breaks, you've now got two pieces, but if you put them back together, they occupy the same volume, right? All right, and then we also have liquids, which we're pretty familiar with as well. So liquids take the shape of whatever container they're in, right? We know this. Whenever you pour a liquid into a container, it's going to automatically take the shape of that container. Okay, so it does not have a fixed shape. No fixed shape. It does, however, have a fixed volume, right? So for instance, if I put that liquid in that container here, it's not going to fill the entire container like a gas would, right? It's going to fill as much volume as it fills. Okay, so that has a fixed volume. Whereas gases, oops, what did I just do? Whereas gases, they expand to fill the volume of the container that they're in. Okay, so the gases, I would say, they have no fixed shape and no fixed volume. They're going to fill, they'll take the shape of the container and they will also take the volume of the container. So pause the video and think about the differences between those states. Okay. All right, so let's continue talking about states of matter. So usually when we vary the temperature of any substance, that can cause a phase change. A phase change is a physical process where a substance goes from one phase to another. There's a phase change, right? So let's think about water, just because it's the most common, one of the common substances that we know about. So as liquid water, right? Usually water we find in the liquid state because it's a liquid at room temperature, okay? But what we can do is we can freeze that water. And what happens when we freeze the water? We make solid water. Another term for solid water is ice, right? We can also melt that ice back down, and then we can create liquid water, or we'll have liquid water when we melt it. Okay, so that's a phase change from liquid to solid or solid to liquid. And we're really familiar with that, right? We do that all the time in our daily lives. There's also some other terms you might be familiar with over here. Going from a liquid to a gas is called evaporation, right? When that water is evaporated, it turns into a gas or water vapor, right? There's also the opposite, going from a gas to a liquid. That's called condensation. You're probably familiar with condensation whenever you drink like a cold drink, but it's kind of sitting out for a while. You'll notice some condensation on your glass. And then some ones that you might not be as familiar with, or you might not have heard ever, are these two terms here. So it's actually, we're really familiar with going from a solid to a liquid to a gas. And we're really familiar with going from a gas to a liquid to a solid, right? But what we're really not as familiar with is going straight from a solid to a gas, or vice versa. There are actually ways that we can do this, and there's terms for it as well. So going from a solid to a gas is called sublimation. And then going from a gas to a solid is called deposition. We're really going to be working more with these phase changes in this class, but you do need to be aware of the terms for these as well. Here's just like a handy chart that we can use to kind of categorize or make sense of matter. So the first thing you want to ask is, okay, I'm starting with a substance. Do I have only one substance present? If yes, then I have either an element or a compound. Okay, if it's an element, it'll be in kind of like the simplest form, right? Just, potassium, sodium, carbon, hydrogen, right? If it's a compound, it'll be two or more elements bonded together, right? Water, H2O, or carbon dioxide, CO2, something like that. Okay, if you answer this question that there's only one present and you say, no, actually there's more than one substance, then you have either a homogeneous mixture or a heterogeneous mixture. What's the difference? Well, remember, homogeneous mixtures, they're kind of the same throughout. You can't see the differences or the different ingredients in the mixture. Heterogeneous mixtures, you can, right? You can pick apart the different parts of that mixture. All right, and then all of these different types of matter can change phase. Okay, whoops, sorry. Get rid of this, still getting used to this. So all of these different types of matter can change phase, and when we have different types of phases, we have solids, liquids, and gases. Okay. All right, that's it for this video. Again, wanted to make it a quick one, and I'll see you in the next one for measurements.